All right, good afternoon, everybody. This is the Fantasy Sports Boss. Welcome to Fantasy Football Live, the aftermath. It is Monday, January 1st, 2024. Got to get used to saying 2024. And like I said, it is the day after as we put the bow on the 2023 fantasy football season. Tonight with the Green Bay Packers against the Minnesota Vikings, I put forth the wrap-up podcast this morning. There's going to be a lot of podcasts going forward as opposed to during the season when it's mostly live streams. There will still be live streams each week. But now we begin the transition into the off-season in fantasy football. And for me, it's still very, very busy because we're going to be profiling the upcoming NFL draft. Separate videos to some of the biggest names that are going to be drafted, this upcoming April. Free agency, lessons that we learned during 2023. And there's certainly quite a bunch of them. And like I said, updated rankings throughout the course of the winter. So we're going to be very busy here on the channel. So make sure if you're not a subscriber already to hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Also, you can become a member of the channel. No obligation, but if you're interested in getting some additional perks of being a member of the channel, you can hit that join button on the homepage and pick which plan you want. The gold membership does get you a free PDF draft guide. So if you become a gold member, you get a free draft guide of your choice, whether it's the NFL draft prospect guide or the fantasy football draft guide. And I'm already hard at work on the prospect guide. Working on the quarterbacks now. And like I said, there's going to be a lot of quarterbacks drafted in the first round, probably 5. Possibly 6, depending on who's coming out, who's staying. We got plenty of time to do the NFL draft as we get closer to that. But, like I said to you this morning, this is the aftermath, the glow if you won, the hurt, and really to not to be cliche, but the agony of defeat for those who went down yesterday. And listen, I've been there. I've lost in the fantasy football championships before multiple times. And it's the worst feeling. You get to that point, you fight so hard for 4 months through all these injuries, the buys, just all the things that go on during the course of the season. And to come up short in the finals is brutal. Somebody posted to me this morning that they lost by less than a point. I'd rather lose by 5 than less than a point because that's just brutal. Literally, it's just one thing that you could have done differently to flip the result. So listen, here's the thing too. Now, obviously you all know that I won in my friends and family league and I'm still stoked about it. I am framing the final box score. I did score 200 points even. My opponent, I think, had 137. So it was a massive blowout. Isaiah Pacheco, CeeDee Lamb, James Conner, Lamar Jackson, all of these guys balled out for me. Even Ezekiel Elliott and Trey McBride showed up as well. I could never put together, I don't think, a championship team that dominant if I tried. Like, it was just that everything came up smelling like roses. And needless to say, I was beyond happy about that. Happy New Year to you too, Mark. Kyron Williams. Kyron Williams definitely gave a lot of people a championship, and CMC picked the worst time to get injured. My third place team. Yeah, I know, Mark. That's how it goes, though, in fantasy football. The fantasy football playoffs are almost like Major League Baseball playoffs because we all know in baseball, the postseason is just a complete crapshoot, and it gets to be that way in fantasy football. I mean, like I guys told you, my work league, I dominated that league all year, and then I get into the playoffs and I lose because I go against Breece Hall and I went against Evan Engram and I went against Brandon Ayuk. All 3 of those guys went crazy in the semis and I went home. And here's the interesting thing. So I was looking at my 2 rosters. My work league, which came up short in the semis, my 2 primary backs were Austin Eckler and Aaron Jones. Both guys 28 years old. Both guys dealt with injuries this season. Both guys clearly on the downside of their career, although Aaron Jones finished strong. And I didn't plan it that way. You all know I go value at running back, and Aaron Jones was a value. Like, he wasn't one of the top guys being drafted. Austin Eckler I traded for after he came back from his ankle injury, thinking I was buying low on him. Now, I traded Kenneth Walker and Michael Thomas, so I really didn't lose much in the deal. But it didn't work out. Now, in the league that I won, my 2 starting backs were actually 3. My 2 starting backs were Isaiah Pacheco and James Conner, 2 of the stud value backs this season. I had also drafted David Montgomery in that league. I picked up Ezekiel Elliott when Ramondre Stevenson went out. And let's face it, Ezekiel Elliott was a league winner. All right. Some of the other value guys, Kyren Williams wasn't even drafted. Rachaad White was in that dead zone of the running backs this year. Jaylen Warren, same thing. I'm just looking at my list here. Devin Achane, you picked him up. Alvin Kamara was in that, value tier. So was DeAndre Swift. All of these guys. Breece Hall was in like that early value tier. And he was like, the second coming of Christian McCaffrey the last couple of weeks. So, listen, for next year, we have to go young at running back, but we also have to go value. And what I did for today is I put together my very, very early rankings for PPR running backs for next season. I'm gonna share that with you guys. Obviously, it's subject to immense change. And Jordan Brooks, the top running back coming out this year, he's a shade below Bijan Robinson in terms of natural ability, but he's not that far from Saquon Barkley, who everybody considered the best running back prospect, like maybe ever when he came out. So Jordan Brooks is going to be a factor in fantasy next year, no matter where he ends up. But another thing, and regardless of position, we have to pay a lot of attention to speedy receivers and backs that might have slipped through the cracks in the draft and were mid-round picks. Looking at you, Devin Achane. Looking at you, Tank Dell. Looking at you, Jaden Reed. And looking at you, Keaton Mitchell. All four of these guys took fantasy football by storm, and all of them were mid-round draft picks. I think Achane was the highest drafted of all of them in the third round. So we need to look at who these speed guys are, even if they're small, like Tank Dell was small, right? He was a slight guy, but he had speed to burn, and he wreaked havoc on fantasy football when he was healthy. Prathia, thank you. I appreciate that. One might keep a league too. I'm planning on keeping Breece Hall third round, Taylor fifth round. Yeah, you got to keep those two guys. I mean, Taylor, I'm not a big fan of. You guys know that. But Breece Hall, absolutely, to me, he's the second best back in fantasy going into next season. And if I had a choice between CMC and Breece Hall next year, I'm taking Breece Hall. I'm not violating my mantra of avoiding 27, 28-year-old, even sometimes 26-year-old backs. All right. It was a bad year, man. Look at Jones, look at Eckler, look at Mixon. Like Mixon was completely inefficient this year. Alvin Kamara was completely inefficient this year. Now, he had a lot of receptions, but he was inefficient. All right. He was under 4 yards per carry. Next year, we really need to zero in on that even more. Okay. But truth be told, there's a lot of youth now that's infusing the running back position. And that's why when you look at my rankings, my top 12 especially, it's filled with youth. All right. There are some guys that are difficult for me to rank, like Tony Pollard. I still think Derrick Henry is signing with that. It makes way too much sense not to happen. Or hell, even Ezekiel Elliott goes back to Dallas. I think Elliott proved he could still be a useful player this year. Tajay Spears, not sure where I'm going to put him yet, but he's definitely going to be somebody I'm interested in because of the PPR friendly nature of his game. All right. What do you do with Ramondre Stevenson coming off a really rough year? Nick Chubb, Derrick Henry. I'm out on both of them. Henry's going to be 30. Chubb is going to be 28, I believe. Lots of mileage coming off a serious injury. The name brand is still going to have him drafted early, but he's just got really nowhere to go but down. All right. Now, again, I preface it by saying that this group of running backs that I've ranked here is extremely early. So there's going to be a wide range of opinions on these backs, but I by default put CMC number one because he's going to be drafted number one over all these backs because his year was unbelievable. He was him and Lamar Jackson were the two finalists for MVP. Now it's going to Jackson, and I hope you took my advice months ago to bet Jackson for his 15-1 odds to win MVP because now he's going to win it. So Zamir White, Jacobs losing the offseason, Antonio Pierce. Yeah, Zamir White's going to be moving up for sure. But I have CMC number one. Number two is Breece Hall. And like I said, I would take Breece Hall number one if I had the choice. All right. Breece Hall to me, and we saw how good he was the last couple of weeks when the Jets finally ended the farce of Dalvin Cook on third down. Breece Hall to me is the closest I've seen to CMC 1,000 yard rushing, 1,000 yard receiving of any back since that magical season. I think CMC, I'd rather Breece Hall can do that. I really do. If Aaron Rodgers can somehow stay healthy, softening up the defense a little bit, and he does throw underneath. He threw a lot to Aaron Jones in Green Bay. I think Breece Hall's headed for a stud, monster, running back one, player number one overall season. Number three, I have Bijan Robinson because I'm still hoping Arthur Smith is gone. If he returns, I'm going to move him down. But this is with the thought, and again, Bijan Robinson is so insanely talented. He could easily be number one if he gets a coach that will just let him run. Literally. So I have him number three. Number four, I have Kyren Williams. Now, I'm not comfortable with Kyren Williams. I know he's had a huge season. My God, 3 touchdowns yesterday. He won how many leagues? I just have a feeling on him. Now, if I'm wrong and he beats my projection on him next year, then great. The speed, he's got better game speed than he does measurable speed. I've spoken many times about his poor showing at the combine that caused him to tumble down draft boards to where he was a 5th round pick. Sean McVay loves to rely on one running back, and that's what he did with Kyren Williams, and he had a monster season. Nobody's taken that away from him. So I have him at running back 4. Running back 5, I have Travis Etienne. Etienne's got, he got goal line work all year. He was involved in the passing game all year. Now he faded down the end of the season, down the stretch of the season, because he was just not physically up to starting a full year due to all of the injuries that he had prior. He'd never gone that far into a season. Now he stayed healthy. Give him credit. And I think staying healthy throughout the course of the season will help him next year get to the end point with strong numbers. I like Etienne next year. Now, number 6, I have Isaiah Pacheco, and he won me a league. Isaiah Pacheco did yeoman's work the second half of the season in particular. CEH will be gone. They'll probably still have Jerick McKinnon because he works for them as a third down back. But Isaiah Pacheco proved that he could be a monster receiver and a runner. He is absolutely deserving of being a top 6 running back. I put him ahead of Jahmyr Gibbs because he gets the goal line work. He's heavily involved in the passing game. This guy was a 7th round pick, and look at how good he's been. He runs with his hair on fire. I don't like how he leads with his helmet a lot. He had a concussion this year. That's scary for me. But Isaiah Pacheco is that rare bell cow back in fantasy, and he has earned his spot at number 6. Now I have Jahmyr Gibbs at number 7. Love the talent. Major explosive talent, but I can't rank him any higher when he's not the primary goal line back. David Montgomery is. Even though Gibbs got more goal line work as the season went on, David Montgomery is still going to remain. He's got 2 more years on his deal. It worked, the timeshare. Montgomery got a lot of carries around the goal line, and he made do on them. He made good on them. All right, Montgomery, double-digit rushing touchdown. He was really good. All right, didn't catch the ball a lot. Jahmyr Gibbs handled that. So I can't rate Jahmyr Gibbs more than running back 7 for next season, at least initially. Running back 8, Saquon Barkley. He's going into his age 27 season, so he's getting up there, but he has missed a lot of time, so he doesn't have the tread on the tires that a lot of other backs have. I'm hoping, and this is me, I've sort of aggressively ranked him number 8. I'm hoping he moves on to somebody else, another team. I think if he goes somewhere else and he's the primary guy, he is still capable of special things. He was dragged down by the awful Giants offensive line, the awful state of the offense, the quarterback play, you name it. Stack boxes every week. It was impossible for Saquon Barkley to do more than he did. Number 9, Jonathan Taylor. I will not draft him anywhere. 26 next year. He's got a ton of mileage already on his body going back to college. Perhaps we're seeing that due to all these injuries these last couple of years, all of that insane usage in college is starting to come home to roost for Taylor. But he's a primary guy. Number 9, I think, is a good spot. Number 10, I have Rachaad White. We all know how good he has been. He was the ultimate dead zone running back, catching the ball, scoring touchdowns. Average wasn't pretty. He was under 4 yards per carry. He bombed out in week 17. But Rachaad White, typical example, like Kyren Williams, may not be the most flashiest running backs, but the workload that they get necessitates them being ranked this high. Number 11, I have Devin Achane. I don't know what's going to happen with Raheem Mostert. Raheem Mostert went into this week 17, running back 2. Absolutely phenomenal. The wheels started to come off the longer the season went on because the injuries started to creep up. This is a guy who's always been hurt. He's going to be 32 next year, coming off 2 straight full season performances. I think it's very scary for Mostert next year, but I don't know if he's going to be back with Miami. All right, they did bring him back for this year. I think he's got 1 more year left on his deal, but Devin Achane can't be denied. Like, he's that impactful, that explosive a player. 11 might even be conservative if Mostert skips town. Number 12, I have Kenneth Walker. I'm not a fan of his either. You know that. Always gets hurt. Not as good of a receiver as some of the guys ranked above him. Zach Charbonnet is not going away. This looks like a 50-50 split. 13, I have Alvin Kamara. Under 4 yards per carry. He will be 29 going into his age 29 season this year. Now, a lot of people are going to be seduced by Kamara because he caught so many passes. He was a PPR cheat code, but he's not an effective runner anymore. He's not getting goal line work. He's under 4 yards per carry. Injuries will continue to be a risk for him. Who's your must-have next year? Mark, CeeDee Lamb, Breece Hall, maybe value running back Tyjae Spears. These are guys I want to have. Jayden Reed. I'm all in on Jayden Reed. We're going to discuss that for the wide receivers tomorrow. But Jayden Reed, I'm all in on. I'm all in on Trey McBride. I want Trey McBride everywhere. And shit, I'm all in on Lamar Jackson again. I still think Lamar Jackson's getting drafted behind Allen, behind Hurts, and behind Mahomes. I think he's run quarterback 4. I'll take him there. I'll take any of those, whichever of those 4 quarterbacks is quarterback 4, I'll take. Those are my must-have. And Isaiah Pacheco, I know I'm not aggressive on running backs, but if I don't get Breece Hall, I'd love to have Pacheco in round 2 if I could. Love Amon-Ra St. Brown again. A.J. Brown, he's pissed me off a little at the end of the year, but I like A.J. Brown again as well. All right, running back 14, James Cook. He was all over the map this season. Not a good finish. This was a tough matchup against New England. I warned you about that, and that's what happened there. But he's got excellent receiving ability, really showed himself to be a good runner. They have to give him goal line work for me to move him up this ranking list. Number 15, DeAndre Swift. Eagles completely misused him. This guy is one of the best receiving backs in football, and they never threw him the ball. Now, they made him the bell cow back, and that worked. But he's capable of running back 1. He could not get out of running back 2 because he's not catching the ball. And on the Eagles, he's not going to catch the ball because they don't throw to their backs. Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, they don't throw to their backs. So in a PPR league, you got to fade backs that are in these systems. Buffalo's fucking right. Yeah, Jermaine, it is annoying. Yeah, you're right. The Dallas game for sure. It's like it never happened. Now, I have Tony Pollard at running back 16. I'm intrigued with Tony Pollard next year. As bad as he was last year, remember, guys, fantasy football is all about cost. When a player, I am interested in everybody based on cost. I think Tony Pollard will drop so much next year that he might be a value. I think they're going to bring in Elliott. They're going to bring in Henry. They will bring in a complement that will probably be the goal line back, which hurts him. But remember, last year, he was a strong running back 2 in PPR with Elliott gobbling up all those touchdowns. So I'm keeping it open with Tony Pollard as a potential value running back. I'm keeping it open with Ramondre Stevenson. I still believe in the talent. He got let down by the quarterback play, the stack boxes. All right? He is a tremendous receiver, and he's a good runner. I'm keeping it open there because I think they will get a quarterback that will make better use of him. He's my running back 17. I'm willing to move him up. Running back 18, Tyjae Spears. I'm going to watch this one closely. Derrick Henry's gone. He's not coming back. Tyjae Spears looks very interesting to me as a PPR running back. He showed he could do it all. He's had 2 ACL injuries, though. That's concerning about his durability. Will that Lack of durability show up the more work he gets. We have to see. 19 is Austin Ekeler. I want him nowhere. Salute to the great career, but Austin Ekeler will not be on any of my teams next year. He's going to be running back 19 for me, maybe lower when the season starts. He's going to have to settle for a timeshare somewhere else. David Montgomery, running back 20. Nice story, nice season, strong running back 2. Can't be any higher with Jahmyr Gibbs there. More of a standard league guy. He barely caught the ball the second half of the season. He barely caught the ball altogether. And this is a guy who's capable of catching the ball. He did it well in Chicago, but they don't use him that way in Detroit. Running back 21, I have Nick Chubb. Say it ain't so. Guys, he's going to be 28. Lots of mileage, coming off a serious injury, doesn't catch the ball. Those are 4 reasons to fade him everywhere. I have no remorse about ranking him this low. Javonte Williams. I have, excuse me, I made a mistake, guys. I have Javonte Williams and Aaron Jones ahead of Nick Chubb. So 21 is Javonte, 22 is Jones. Listen, Aaron Jones can still run the football. Like, he ran it really well down the stretch, but I can't look past the injuries anymore. I just can't. All right, he's going to be 29 as well. Javonte Williams, I will keep it open. He ran in quicksand the second half of the season. He looked bad. He looked like Najee Harris, an even slower version of him. A full season removed from that knee injury, though, I'm curious to see how he's going to be. And I think, they have a lot of running backs there. How are they going to use him? There's a lot of question marks about Javonte Williams. I will give him an audit. Josh Jacobs. So Josh Jacobs and James Conner, I don't have a ranking on either one of them. The reason why is because I could have them in top 15. I could have them outside the top 20. I don't know what to do with either one. I love James Conner. I love him. But I'm going to sell high. I had him this year. Unbelievable finish. He won me the league. He won a lot of people their leagues. He averaged a 4.9 per carry at 28 years old. Unbelievable season. He's missed so much time that there was still tread on the tires. But like Aaron Jones, he always hurt. Was hurt again this year. I'm getting out high. I'm not going back to him next year. I don't care how much work he's going to get. Josh Jacobs will be 26 this next season. I'm keeping it open on him depending on where he goes. He's not coming back to the Raiders. Zamir White's going to be the guy. But I don't have a ranking on Jacobs because I want to see where he ends up. After Nick Chubb, I do have Zamir White. Zamir White, showed he could catch the football the last 2 weeks. Want to see what they're going to do with Josh Jacobs. I could move him up easily, for sure. Derrick Henry, I have him at 24. It's over. He's going to be a complimentary back now. He'll be a goal line back. He can help in standard leagues. Najee Harris, I have after Henry. Was really good at week 17. He's boring. He's slow. Not going to catch the ball much with Jalen Warren there. So this is as high as I can rank him. I have Brian Robinson right after Harris. So this is a really shaky, pure running back portion of my rankings. Jalen Warren after these two guys. In PPR, he could be a low-end running back too, but with Najee Harris there, they both kind of cap each other's ceilings. Then I have Joe Mixon, completely out. He'll be 28, I believe, or 29 this upcoming season, 2024. Completely inefficient the last couple of years, and Chase Brown is going to be a bigger part of the offense. Jerome Ford, not sure what to do with him. Got to see how this unfolds. I mean, could be Nick Chubb's bell cow team again, but Jerome Ford did enough good things to warrant consideration going forward. And then Keaton Mitchell and Khalil Herbert and Jordan Brooks, all of them, no ranking on each of those three because I want to see where they end up. Jordan Brooks could be a real player in fantasy depending on where he's drafted. So that's my first look at running backs. And again, it's really early. I'm going to have the quarterback ranks tomorrow in a podcast. I'm not going to stream live tomorrow. Let's see. Because of you, I'm the 2-time fantasy show. Oh, that's great to Josh Panda. I really appreciate hearing. I love hearing that. Thank you. And make sure don't go anywhere during the offseason. We're going to have a lot of stuff still going on. Keep a wide receiver running back now. It's all Hall and Lamb. Yeah, Mark, I think you got to keep those two guys. That's incredible. And I don't like keeper leagues. the Friends and Family League, we've been trying. Some people keep saying, let's make it a keeper league. I hate keeper leagues in fantasy football. If you strike gold on somebody who's like a 10th round draft pick, and then you get to keep them for that draft spot, it just dilutes the product the following year. If you have a first round guy that you drafted in the 10th round, salute, great, all the props, but it's going to dilute the sanctity of the league. And be redraft. I respect anybody who does what. Personal opinion. I don't think I'm drafting super at CMC. Going to be 29. Worried. Yeah, listen, Sean, I'm worried about Kyren Williams as well. It's just a nagging suspicion. He's not overly fast. Not the most durable guy either. I'm not buying high on either one of them. And CMC, like I said, I'm taking Breece Hall over him if I have that top pick. There's no Justin Jefferson #1 next year. All right. CeeDee Lamb is my wide receiver 1. I don't think. And this is from the receiver guy. I think Breece Hall is the #1 pick, in my opinion. I'm sorry. And I think CeeDee Lamb is #2, and I think CMC is #3. That's probably how I have it ranked. And then Jefferson, depending on who the quarterback's going to be. Tyreek Hill, that's probably the top 5. And then you get into Bijan Robinson and Kyren Williams and, those guys the rest of the first round. Amon-Ra St. Brown. I love Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm hoping to get that late first-round pick because I would like to double up with Amon-Ra and A.J. Brown again if that's possible. I think Amon-Ra is still available late in the first round. But CeeDee Lamb and the guys that win you a league, you almost become bonded to them. Like, I want Lamb and Lamar Jackson again next year. I want to make it happen. If I'm in that top 3, I'm going to take CeeDee Lamb. Breece Hall will be the only thing that tempts me. I want Lamar Jackson again. I'm partial to those guys who won me a league. Trey McBride, I want everywhere. I think Kyler Murray is going to be back. Trey McBride was unbelievable. So these are the guys I want to go back with next season. Whew. I had Hurts, Kyren, Bijan, Gibbs, CeeDee, Evans on my championship. Yeah, that was a loaded team, Sean. I mean, Kyren was a gift, no doubt. Gibbs, that worked out well. It was scary early on. I imagine you went Bijan, CeeDee, and then Hurts in your draft. All worked out great, for sure. But, to me, Lamar Jackson, he was unbelievable. He's the league winner for me, along with CeeDee Lamb. All right, guys, I think I'm going to jump out here. Just a short stream today. Like I said, I want to check in with you guys. There's still going to be streams during the week. Don't worry. They'll probably be a little shorter than they were during the season, but lots of videos coming up. Become a member. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification button. Do all of that, and we will be around every step of the way, the draft, free agency, all of that stuff. So there's not goodbye. It's just on to another season. Work starts now for 2024. Let's go get it. All right, guys. So have a great day. We will chat soon. And again, Happy New Year, everybody.